Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast with your host, Lorna Poole, sharing the secrets to creating wealth, investing, and that all-important money mindset. To find out more and accelerate your journey to financial freedom, head on over to www.lornapoole.com to get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Would you love to learn what it's like and how possible it is for you? Whitney Hansen grew up with a single mum with a household of 6 kids. And I personally love when I hear stories like this because it just proves that anybody can do it. Whitney Hansen is a millennial financial expert, financial coach, speaker, and host of the award-winning podcast, The Money Nerds. She has been featured on GoBanking Rates, CNBC, ESPN, Yahoo, and Finance Alley, and frequent local news channels. After paying off $30,000 in 10 months, hacking her way to a 472 MBA and buying her first home at 19, she discovered her love for helping millennials take control of their financial life. In her free time, she travels frequently, teaching college students about personal finance and testing side hustles for fun. She lives in Boise, Idaho. Whitney, great to have you here.
Thank you so much. I am truly honored to hang out with you guys today.
You know, I personally love, we haven't chatted yet, but, single mom with 6 kids, that's hard. Mm-hmm. How does somebody do it?
Yeah, it was super tough. So I'm one of 6 kids in my family. And the story of my mom being a single mom was quite heartbreaking, actually. She was married for 27 years and got married very, very young. I think she was 17 when she actually got married. And the relationship turned abusive. My dad got hooked on drugs. And it got to a very bad situation where she had to leave the relationship basically for her life. And it was sad, but a lot of the reason that she stayed in that relationship for so long was because she didn't have the money to leave the relationship with 6 kids.
Isn't that what happens to so many people?
Right. Yeah. That was the sad part. I think it's a lot more normal than we would like to admit.
Yeah. And, a lot of people stay in things like jobs, relationships, especially because they believe they can't financially support themselves.
Yeah, you're spot on. I hear that all the time too of I'm stuck in this. I can't. And I think that word can't is really what holds us back. So instead of focusing on what we can't do, instead maybe focus on what we can control. And that might be saving $10 every single paycheck so that we can have a little bit more of, I've heard the term the F-off fund that became really popular. So maybe that's what you work towards. But I think a lot of us are in situations where maybe it's not abusive or we're not with a partner that's hooked on drugs, but we have our own form of our holding ourselves back because of money. And so I like that you brought that up. I think that's very intelligent.
So your mom eventually got the inner strength to get out of that, right?
Yeah.
So now she's a single mom with 6 kids. What happened there?
Yeah, so she's a single mom with 6 kids, did not have any education at all. She barely had her high school diploma. And so she moved to Boise, the city that I live in now. And it's like 2 hours away from where I grew up, and had to start over where she was working minimum wage. At that time, she was making $7.25 per hour to try to survive and pay rent and groceries and all of this stuff. And we were sleeping on the floor of this really tiny apartment because we were so broke. We really were. And so I remember one day my mom and I were walking and we were just looking around and just kind of ho-humming, and we saw a mattress in the garbage can. And we were so excited about that, Lorna. We grabbed it, we took it home, and we were thrilled because that meant we didn't have to sleep on the floor anymore. And so we were really, really broke, but it was powerful. I was 16 at that time. So it taught me a lot of really powerful financial lessons.
And that's what I want to talk about. So I'm guessing that what you grew up in has catapulted you to not live that way.
Mm-hmm. It really did. So the first thing that mattress taught me so much, like even to this day, if I ever see a mattress in the garbage can, I'm humbled. It reminds me of my roots and how far people can make progress. But one of the things that it taught me was there's a real difference between a want and a need, and that we don't necessarily have bad lives unless we view it as a bad thing. And so for me, that really catapulted me into this journey of learning about money and trying to figure it out for myself, and then teaching other people how to do it as well from my own personal experience. But that's where my whole start to personal finance came from, was that mattress in the garbage can and seeing my mom stay in a really crappy relationship for 27 years.
You know, you said something really powerful and beautiful. It was, we don't necessarily have bad lives. We view it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is huge. It's one of those things too that I think we all think our lives are bad in the moment. And if I'm speaking to somebody right now that is truly going through some really hard times, I respect that. And I understand where you're going through. But at the same time, too, we have a choice in how we view our life circumstances. Do we use that to tear us down, or do we use it as motivation to do better? And I think the same thing is true with our financial lives. And I think money touches so much more than anything in our lives. It has its little roots in every single area. And if you can control money and you can feel empowered with it, I think you can truly win in life. I really do believe that.
Okay, so from 16, you're seeing this mattress in the garbage can. How, Whitney, did you turn that around to where you are now today?
Honestly, it was through education. It truly was. So I went off to college, and my job to get me through college was nail technician. So manicures and pedicures was my job all through undergraduate school. And when I was going through university, that's what I was studying, was accounting. And so I knew that money was important, and I knew education was important, because I didn't want to make $7.25 an hour. I knew that there had to be more than just $7.25. There had to be options. And so that was really, my college education is what really sparked me forward in my career and the ability to make more money. But it also came with a lot of student debt. And that's the piece that I didn't quite think through when I was younger. Was going to school is great, but you have to be careful of that debt load. So I graduated with my bachelor's in accounting and $30,000 in debt.
Yeah, I see here you paid it off in 10 months. How did you do that?
I think we both know this, right? There's no true secret to paying off debt other than sacrifice and hard work. So I rented out my home. I bought a home when I was 19. Completely rented it out. I made a profit off of my rental, which was nice. I moved in with my long-term boyfriend at that time, rented a really cheap room from him, so cheaper rent there. I worked 2 jobs. So I was a staff accountant by day, working full-time, and then nights and weekends I continued working as a nail tech. And so I was working about 80 hours per week, which sounds crazy, and it was, to be fair. It wasn't fun in that time, but I didn't go out to eat once. I didn't step into Starbucks. I did not buy coffee. And for me, that was really difficult. It was really tough. I'm kind of a coffee addict. And so that was kind of my plan, was I'm just going to buckle down and see if I can get this all paid off within ideally 1 year was the goal I set for myself. And of course, when you set a goal and you are super focused on it, I find you always beat that deadline for some reason. And so I beat it by 2 months. So I paid it all off in 10 months, and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Do you know, I love what you're sharing, because I feel like this message is lost in this new age, that it's unbelievable. I really do believe, and, even my own circumstances stuff, people who really make it or do something quite powerful, they buckle down, get on with it. Yep. I think there's too much, advice out there at the moment about, just think about it and it'll all happen. And no, do the bloody work.
I know. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's pretty powerful for a girl of 19 to buy a house.
It was pretty great. I think a lot of it stemmed from, there's different places that motivate us. It can be from a really positive experience, or it can be from a really negative experience. And mine was really stemming from that negative, almost fear-based, was what was motivating me, of this, I never want to be in that situation. And for me at 19, I thought the way to control your home situation, when you grow up in an abusive family, a lot of the repercussions there are you're moving in and out. We probably moved 2 to 3 times per month for years. And I wanted that stability. And so I knew that buying my own home was a great way to have that stability. So a lot of my drivers were really from negative places. But again, I think it's how you channel that experience on what really makes or breaks somebody.
But I think over time, I'm guessing that you balance that out. Because sometimes people can grow, do a lot of powerful things from negativity, and figure out further down the line that their way to life is not working either by doing that. But it sounds like for you, that negativity catapults you to do amazing things. And I think over time you learn to see the good in that and work it in a balanced way, right?
For sure. For sure. I think that the anger or the fear can really spark the change. And then once it starts to boost your confidence, especially with money, when you start to see that you can do awesome things with money and you're the only one holding yourself back, I think it starts to really boost your confidence. So then it comes from a place of love and support instead of from fear and anger.
Yeah, exactly. For anyone today that's kind of in a situation, does everybody have to, I think sometimes people get stuck as well, is that does bad things happen to us for us to get motivated to change it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I've given that a lot of thought recently too. So I'm really glad you brought this up. I don't necessarily think bad things have to happen for us to get motivated. But sadly, I think that a lot of us think it's never going to happen to us until it does. So we hear bad stories. We hear people that go bankrupt. We hear people that take out too much debt. We hear people that are making bad choices with money. And we immediately say that'll never happen to me. But we don't necessarily think it'll happen to us until it does. And so I think for a lot of times we either learn from people's mistakes, ideally, or we don't think it's ever going to happen to us. So for a lot of the people that I see, sadly, a lot of times bad stuff does have to happen to us for us to wake up a little bit. And now determine your bad. Maybe it's $500 of credit card debt, or maybe it's $5,000. Hopefully it's neither. But I think for a lot of people, you do have to have that emotional trigger of, I can't do something that I really want to do, some value. I can't start a family. I can't buy my own house. I can't go back to school until I get my finances in order. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be a bad thing if it's not addressed.
And are you investing in everything now?
Oh, yes, totally. During that time, I was not, to be very, very clear. When I was paying off my debt, I did not put money into my retirement accounts whatsoever. I was very focused on just paying off debt because it was such a short time period. But now, yeah, for sure. I invest as much as I can. My new thing is I'm looking to invest more of my money into real estate. So I'm trying to learn more about that, but I'm not quite there yet.
And you're a millennium financial expert, right? They're coming out of college. They're in debt to a lot of money for, degrees and masters and so forth. Mm-hmm. A lot of this financial freedom is about managing money, clearing debt, getting your investment going. What are your investment? For somebody starting off and they want to get their money in order and not end up in situations like your mom and other people have various there's various ways that we can end up bad work, not in control of our money. Our money's in control of us.
For sure.
What's the sequence, or where do they start, or how do they get this together so that they can be buying houses at 19 years of age, they can be paying off debt, and they can start investing early so they actually work because they choose to, not because they have to?
I think the best place to start is to really get clear on what's important to you and what do you want out of life. I think simply getting clear is so hard for people. Even just asking, what do you want, gives people anxiety. We don't know what we want. We have no clue sometimes. And so I think it's getting very clear on what's important to you when it comes to your life. Is it family time? Is it traveling? Is it security? Like what is it that's important to you? And then from there, you can start to set financial goals that help you meet your values. And I think that's a really great place.
I love that you said that.
Yeah, it's important.
About values, because when you were talking about at 19, I wanted to stay somewhere regularly, that was a security value, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the most important steps is knowing what's important to you and what your value, and then planning your life around your values.
Yep, I totally agree. I think if you're spending money on things that you don't really value and really aren't important to you, you always feel like you are never going to get ahead financially. You always feel like money's kind of hard to come by. Life is just tough. But I think if you can reverse it and you can actually spend in what you do value, and within your means, of course, you start to respect money and you start to see it grow faster. And so I think that's really important. But in order to get to that point where money's working for you, you do have to start with your values. You have to start with a very specific goal, and you have to pull your head out of the sand and look at your current situation. You have to see how much debt you have, how you're spending your money. You have to create a budget. All of these things that we hear but are really intimidating, that's the best place to start. It's not hard. It's very simple, but you have to do the action work.
Yeah. I'll ask you about this. Budget, right? I'm in the middle of refining that at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
I have to say, I find it difficult to, even though I know where my bills are and all that, but to really pinpoint, the month ahead of me, it's going to go here, there, whatever, because things crop up. Yeah. What do you say to that?
They do. And I think because things do crop up, you're spot on. Do the best that you can, and then watch that little section where random things that just come up into the budget. Then what I usually encourage for anybody that's trying to create a budget is to put a buffer in your budget where maybe it's $150, maybe it's only $100. Do what you can, and then that will cover a lot of those little random things that come up. So you're still planning for it. You don't know exactly what it's going to be, but you have money sitting there so it doesn't completely derail your finances.
I love it. So we're going to get clear on what's important to us, right? We're going to know our values. That's kind of one. We're going to do our goals. We're going to look at our current situation. That's huge. Create a budget. What's next?
Then from there, I think that's where side hustles come in. And I'm such a nerd when it comes to side hustles and just making extra money, because I think that side hustles do two things for you. A, it brings in more money, which is great. And B, it starts to teach you new skills. And those skills can help you in your current place of employment. It can turn into a business on the side. Like, you don't know where those skills are going to take you, but side hustling can help you get there. And so I love testing side hustles. I'm currently testing flipping furniture, where I'll buy pieces of furniture from thrift stores or from auctions or even from people online. And then I will fix it up if it needs to be, and then just resell the furniture. And that easily brings in about $500 to $1,000 per month. Just from doing that.
Can I chat to you more about side hustle? Because this is an area I found I've struggled, where I can do all these other things, but then I sort of struggle to increase my income, or, I kind of hit walls with it. So what are so you're buying furniture, doing it up, and then letting it on. Is that it?
Yep, sometimes.
So you just kind of try and test and see and do.
I do. I try to test side hustles that truly don't require very much skill and that anybody can do. And so those are the side hustles that I test. Flipping furniture, I think, is so easy. I really do. So if you just go to a thrift stop, I always call it a thrift stop, a thrift store. You go there and you purchase something that's pretty cheap and then list it on Facebook Marketplace. And I'm telling you, you can make some good money. I've tested this. It works. The downside is you have to have somewhere to store the furniture in the meantime. But if you're listening to this, you're like, I do not want to flip furniture. That doesn't sound interesting to me. There's options like Uber Eats. So Uber Eats is an on-demand delivery system where you deliver food from restaurants directly to people's door. And you get paid. I mean, it varies. You get paid depending on the distance that you have to travel. But I've tested that one before. You can definitely make some money from that. I'm currently also testing these scooters. I don't know if they're as popular in the UK as they are here, but it's electric scooters. You pay per mile to ride the scooter around the city, but these electric scooters need to be charged. So you can go pick these scooters up and you charge them and then return them to different areas of location and get paid for that as well. So there's so many ways to make money. I think you just have to find which one sounds interesting to you and just test it and see if it works with your schedule and your life.
I love that. And I loved, you said something really important there as well, is you develop a new skill. Because here's the thing, everybody, is when you get a skill, as in budgeting or investing or, making more money, nobody ever can take that away from you once that's in your mind, And if you lose on something, you can always get it back, because that skill, just once you have that for life.
Mm-hmm. You're spot on. That's very, very well said.
I love that. Yes. So side hustling, so that's increasing your income. And then where do you go from there?
So I think the intention behind side hustling is to help you hit your financial goals faster. It's not to make your life more miserable or to take away your free time. Yeah. It's to be a little bit more intentional with your free time and to hit your goals that matter to you. And so for a lot of people, that's paying down debt. I am a big advocate of paying down your debt using the debt snowball as quickly as you possibly can. I think it works really well. So paying off that smallest balance debt first, and then snowballing it and paying off the next smallest balance, and then doing the same thing over and over again. I think that's really tangible for people because they get that quick win and they get more excited and more bought in. And then once you hit that rate, once you're out of debt, I mean, my goodness, the sky's the limit. You can go buy a new home. You can go travel more. You can invest more. You can hit your next goal might be financial independent, retiring early. That's kind of a big movement that's coming up. But I think that's where you have a lot more freedom in your choice. And that's what people really want, is the ability to choose and not to feel like they don't have that option.
And I want to share something else that's really huge that I am learning at the moment. So I'm carrying debt at the moment, and I have an emergency fund, because if you don't, you'll go back into debt.
100%.
Because it's really what debt is about is your pattern and your habit. Yes, and if you don't have the emergency fund or protection, even if you leave your job and you put 3 months of worth of whatever your job wages is, that protects you. So when you're clearing debt, or even having a long-term savings, whatever, short-term savings, there's going to be bumps along the road. Like, for example, myself right now, I have to change my car. Okay. I'm very early days at managing my money. And when the savings are there, that saves me going to the credit union or the bank to go borrow money again. And then you're not investing that. So I think that's a huge thing to mention. Whitney, this has been an amazing conversation. I love what you share. We can tell you can walk your talk. You're very inspiring what you've accomplished already.
Thank you.
For anyone listening to this and they really want to have a good relationship with money and have it work for them instead of against them, what's the one thing you want to leave the listeners with?
Yeah, the one thing I'd like to leave people with, if you're trying to better your financial life, it's to pull out a piece of paper and just sit down and write down how much debt you have, how much savings you have, how much you have in your retirement accounts, how much you make, what your monthly expenses are. Just keep it simple. Pull out one small piece of paper and just write it all down. It takes a couple of hours maybe, but that's the best place to start. And I think once you see those numbers, you'll know what to do next.
I love it, Whitney, because there is a ladder. There is a roadmap, and if you follow the roadmap, you'll get there.
I agree. I totally agree with you.
And you shared exactly what the roadmap is, and I love it. And if people take the time to follow this, they will see their lives transform. So thank you, Whitney, for being here. How do we find out more about you? How does somebody get in contact with you?
Yeah, the best place to start is whitneyhansen.com, and there you'll find a link to my podcast, The Money Nerds. If you're listening to this, you obviously like podcasts, so go give mine a listen too. And if you like it, I'd love to have you join in the community.
Thank you, Whitney, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Hey, everyone. Remember to join us in the Private Financial Freedom Podcast Facebook group. with me, your host, Lorna Poole. This is a safe haven of like-minded wealth-getting go-getters who, like you, are on their journey to creating financial freedom in their life. This is where you and I can get intimate. I can give you the support and guidance to go from where you are now to where you want to be, developing your wealth mindset and creating your financial freedom life. Join at www.facebook.com/groups The Financial Freedom Podcast. You will see the links to this on the website. It's in the show notes, or type it into the Facebook group. All you have to type in is Financial Freedom Podcast and you will see us there. Look forward to seeing you in the group. Take care. Thank you for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast, to creating wealth, investing, and developing your money mindset. To get started today on your journey, head on over to www.lornapoole.com and grab your free course, 5 Steps to Breaking Free from Your Poverty Mindset and Accelerating Your Journey to Financial Freedom. See you there.